A crystal chandelier catches the light of 1,000 candles. The grand ballroom of the Belmont Hotel is filled with 500 of the city's elite, dressed in tuxedos and evening gowns worth more than most people earn in a year. Champagne flows like water. Diamonds glitter on necks and wrists. This is the annual Veterans Hope Gala, where the wealthy gather to write checks and feel good about helping those who served. On stage, under a spotlight that makes her skin glow like polished bronze, stands Diane Porter. If you don't know that name, you've been living under a rock for the past decade. 3 Grammy Awards, platinum albums, sold-out world tours, a voice that can make angels weep and devils repent. She's wearing a silver gown that costs more than a car, and she's in the middle of her signature ballad, the one that launched her career 12 years ago. But something happens. From somewhere in the back of the ballroom, a piano starts playing. Not the grand piano on stage where her accompanist sits, a different piano. The melody is soft at first, almost hesitant, like someone who hasn't played in years trying to remember how their fingers work. Diane's voice falters, just for a second. But in a room this quiet, everyone notices. The melody continues. It's beautiful, haunting. A song nobody in this room has ever heard before, except for one person. Diane's hand trembles. The microphone nearly slips from her grip. Her eyes search the crowd, frantic, desperate, looking for the source of that sound. Because she knows this song. She knows it better than her own heartbeat. She knows it because she wrote it 15 years ago, with someone who was supposed to be dead. The piano player continues, unaware that 500 people have turned in their seats trying to see who dares to interrupt Diane Porter mid-performance. Security guards move toward the back of the room. Guests whisper behind their hands. And then Diane sees him. At the very back of the ballroom, barely visible in the shadows, sitting at an old upright piano that's only there because the hotel uses it for staff events, is a man. His clothes are filthy. His hair is more gray than black. His hands, scarred and calloused, dance across keys that probably haven't been tuned in months. Diane's legs give out. She doesn't faint, not quite, but she sinks to her knees on stage, still holding the microphone. The sound of her knees hitting the floor echoes through the speakers. "Elijah," she whispers. But the microphone picks it up. The whole ballroom hears it. The piano stops. 500 people hold their breath. And in that moment of absolute silence, one question hangs in the air like smoke. How did a homeless man end up playing a song that was never supposed to exist, written by 2 people who were never supposed to meet again? But to understand that we need to go back. We need to go back 3 hours to a park bench 6 blocks away where our story really begins. Elijah Washington wakes up to the sound of a car horn and the smell of his own unwashed body. Not the best way to start a day, but it's been his reality for the past 3 years. The park bench isn't comfortable, never has been, but it's better than the shelter where someone stole his shoes last month. At least here under this oak tree in Morrison Park, he can pretend he's camping. Pretend he chose this. He's 58 years old, though he looks 70. War does that to a man. War and everything that comes after. The morning sun filters through the leaves, and for just a moment before the pain in his back reminds him where he is, Elijah allows himself to remember when mornings meant something different. When they meant waking up next to someone who loved him. When they meant coffee and conversation, and the sound of piano keys under his fingers as he composed something new. But that was a lifetime ago. He sits up slowly, every joint protesting. The tattoo on his forearm, faded now, but still visible, reads 10th Mountain Division. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Saw things no man should see. Did things no man should have to do. Came home with medals and nightmares and a brain that doesn't work the way it used to. The PTSD hit him like a freight train. Couldn't hold a job. Couldn't hold a conversation. Couldn't hold on to the life he'd built before Uncle Sam came calling. His wife left. Took their daughter. Can't blame her, really. He became someone she didn't recognize, someone he didn't recognize. The music stopped after that. How could he create beauty when his hands shook every time he heard a loud noise? How could he compose when his mind was stuck in a desert 8,000 miles away, watching his friend bleed out in the sand? So here he is, Morrison Park, bench number 7, home sweet home. Elijah runs a hand through his graying hair and looks down at his clothes. The jacket is army surplus bought at a thrift store back when he still had money for things like that. The shirt underneath has holes. His pants are held up with a rope. His shoes at least are intact. You can't survive on the streets without decent shoes. He's hungry. Always hungry. But that's nothing new. What is new is the sound he hears drifting on the morning breeze. Music. Piano music. Coming from somewhere close by. Elijah stands following the sound like a moth to flame. 6 blocks. That's how far he walks, drawn by a melody he can't quite place until he finds himself standing outside the Belmont Hotel. The grand old building takes up an entire city block, all marble columns and brass fixtures and doormen who eye him like he's something that crawled out of the sewer. The music is coming from inside. They're setting up for something big. He can see through the glass doors, workers hanging banners, arranging flowers, testing sound equipment. One of the banners catches his eye, Annual Veterans Hope Gala, supporting our homeless heroes. The irony isn't lost on him. They're raising money for people like him, while men in suits guard the doors to make sure people like him don't get in. He should leave, should walk away, but the music keeps playing, and now he hears something else. A voice. A woman's voice running through scales, warming up. That voice. Elijah's heart stops. He knows that voice. He knows it the way you know your own name, the way you know the sound of rain or the feeling of sunlight. He knows it because he used to fall asleep listening to it, used to wake up to it, used to build his entire world around it. It can't be. It's been 15 years. 15 years since the army told him to report for duty. 15 years since he kissed her goodbye and promised to come back. 15 years since the explosion that should have killed him, but didn't, that instead left him broken in ways no doctor could fix. 15 years since he let her believe he was dead because he couldn't bear for her to see what he'd become. But that voice, that's Diane. His Diane. Except she's not his anymore, is she? She's the world's Diane now. Diane Porter, the superstar. The woman whose face is on billboards and magazine covers. The woman who sings to sold-out stadiums while he sleeps on park benches. He should walk away. He should absolutely walk away. Instead, Elijah finds himself circling the building looking for a service entrance. Old habits from his time as a struggling musician die hard. He knows how these fancy venues work. He knows where the loading docks are, where the kitchen staff take their smoke breaks, where security is lax. Sure enough, there's a door propped open near the dumpsters. Kitchen workers are unloading supplies. Elijah waits until they're distracted, then slips inside. The smell hits him first. Food. Real food. Not the garbage he's been surviving on, not the stale sandwiches from the shelter, but actual gourmet food. His stomach growls so loud he's sure someone will hear it. A woman in a white chef's coat spots him immediately. "Hey, you can't be in here." Elijah raises his hands, non-threatening. "I'm sorry, I'm hungry. I thought maybe there'd be scraps, something you were throwing out anyway." The chef looks at him, really looks at him, and her expression softens. She sees the army jacket, sees the way he stands, the military bearing he can't quite shake, even after years on the streets. "You serve?" she asks. "Yes, ma'am. 10th Mountain Division." She nods, makes a decision. "Wait here." She disappears into the kitchen and returns with a plate. Chicken, vegetables, bread. It's left over from their prep, probably would have been thrown out, but to Elijah, it looks like a feast fit for kings. "Thank you," he says, and he means it more than he's meant anything in years. "Thank you," she replies, nodding at his jacket, "for your service." He takes the plate to a corner, sits on the floor, and eats slowly, trying to make it last. The music is louder here. He can hear the full orchestra now running through their set. And that voice, Diane's voice. She's rehearsing, warming up for tonight's performance. Each note is a knife to his heart. He remembers teaching her to project from her diaphragm. Remembers the first time she sang one of his compositions and made him cry. Remembers the night they wrote "When the Night Fades" together, the night before he left for basic training, both of them knowing it might be the last night they ever had. He never should have come here. This was a mistake. But as he finishes his food and stands to leave, he hears it. That song. She's singing "When the Night Fades," the song they wrote together, the song no one else has ever heard, the song she kept all these years. And just like that, the decision is made. He's not leaving. Not yet. He needs to see her. Just once. Just from a distance. He needs to know she's real, that the success he reads about in discarded newspapers is true, that something good came from the wreckage of his life. Elijah slips out of the kitchen and into the maze of corridors that make up the hotel's back areas. He's good at being invisible. You have to be on the streets. People look right through you. It's a survival skill. He finds a service staircase and climbs. The ballroom is on the 2nd floor. He can hear the rehearsal clearly now. Diane is running through her set list with the orchestra, and each song hits him like a physical blow because he knows them all. He wrote most of them. Or at least he wrote the early versions, the raw melodies she took and made famous. She kept his music. Even after thinking he was dead, she kept playing his music. There's a small room at the back of the balcony level, probably meant for lighting or sound equipment. The door is unlocked. Elijah slips inside and finds a vantage point where he can see the stage below without being seen. And there she is, 15 years older, still beautiful. More beautiful, maybe. Success looks good on her. She's wearing rehearsal clothes, just jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup, but she commands that stage like a queen. The woman he knew was talented, but this woman is a force of nature. She stops mid-song, speaks to the conductor. They discuss a tempo change. She laughs at something the piano player says, and the sound of that laugh echoes in Elijah's chest like a bell. This was a mistake. He should leave. Every second he stays makes it harder. But he can't move. He's frozen watching her, and for just a little while he lets himself remember what it was like to be the man she loved instead of the ghost he became. To understand how Elijah Washington went from rising musician to homeless veteran, you need to understand what he lost. And to understand that, you need to go back to 2010 to a dive bar called The Velvet Note, in the part of town where dreams go to struggle before they either die or take flight. Elijah was 28 years old and playing piano 6 nights a week for tips and whatever the owner could afford to pay, which wasn't much. He'd studied music at a community college, taught himself composition, and had dreams of scoring films or producing albums. But dreams don't pay rent, so he played covers and standards for drunk college kids and lonely businessmen, and he tried not to think about how his music degree was gathering dust in a closet. Then Diane walked in. She was 23, fresh out of nowhere, with a voice she'd inherited from a grandmother who sang gospel and a determination she'd inherited from nobody but herself. She'd heard through the grapevine that the Velvet Note had open mic nights, and she needed a place to be heard. Elijah noticed her immediately. Hard not to. She had this presence even then. Walked into that shabby bar like she was walking onto the stage at Carnegie Hall. Confidence that bordered on delusion, except she had the talent to back it up. She asked if she could sing. The bar owner shrugged, said, "Sure, why not?" Elijah was playing background music at the time, some jazz standard he could perform in his sleep. "You know At Last?" Diane asked him. He smiled. "Etta James. Classic." "What key?" "Surprise me." So he did. Started in E-flat, gave her the intro, and then she opened her mouth and sound came out that made every conversation in that bar stop mid-sentence. People turned. Glasses paused halfway to lips. Even the bartender stopped pouring. She didn't just sing At Last. She inhabited it. Made it hers. Made everyone in that room believe she'd lived through every word of heartache and joy that song contained. When she finished, the silence lasted 3 full seconds before the applause started. Elijah just stared at her. He'd played with a lot of singers. Good ones, mediocre ones, terrible ones. But this woman was different. This woman was the real thing. "Where did you come from?" he asked, when she walked over to the piano after the applause died down. "Cincinnati. But I've been dreaming about anywhere else my whole life." "Well, you can't leave. Not now. I just found you." She laughed. "You don't even know me. I know you can sing. That's enough." It wasn't, of course. But it was a start. Diane started coming to the Velvet Note every night Elijah played. At first, she'd just do a couple songs during the open mic. Then the owner started asking her to do more. Then people started coming specifically to hear her. Within a month, she and Elijah had an unofficial partnership. He'd play, she'd sing, and together they created something bigger than the sum of their parts. Within 2 months, he was in love with her. Within 3 months, she was in love with him too. It happened gradually then, all at once, the way these things do. Late nights after the bar closed, sitting at the piano, trying out new melodies. Coffee at diners at 3 in the morning talking about music and dreams and all the places they'd go when they made it big. Walking through the city as the sun came up because neither of them wanted the night to end. The first time Elijah played her something he'd written specifically for her, she cried. It was a simple melody, nothing fancy, but it captured something essential about who she was. She sang it without words at first, just following the notes with her voice, and even without lyrics, it was beautiful. "We should write lyrics," she said, "together. I'm not a lyricist, neither am I. But we could learn." So they did. Spent weeks crafting words to match the melody. It was clumsy at first, amateur, but they kept working until it was right. The song was called Fragments of Gold, and it was about finding beauty in broken things. A local producer heard them perform it at the Velvet Note and offered to record a demo. Nothing fancy, just a basic recording, but it was something. Proof that they were more than just bar performers. The demo got them a few gigs at better venues. Diane's voice started getting noticed. Music bloggers wrote about her. A small independent label expressed interest in signing her. "Sign us," she told them. "Both of us. I write with Elijah. We're a package deal. But the label wasn't interested in Elijah. They wanted Diane. Just Diane. They had producers who could write for her, they said. Professionals. Diane turned them down. "We're partners," she told Elijah that night. "I'm not leaving you behind. You should take it," he said. "This is your shot. It's our shot. Or it's no shot at all." He loved her for that. For her loyalty. For believing in him when he barely believed in himself. They kept grinding, kept writing, kept performing. The money was still terrible, but they didn't care. They had each other. They had their music. That was enough. Elijah wrote constantly. Melodies poured out of him like water from a tap. Some were good, some weren't. But the good ones were really good. And Diane took those good ones and made them transcendent. They talked about the future like it was a certainty. They'd get a record deal eventually, the right one that respected both of them. They'd tour, they'd make albums, they'd win awards, they'd buy a house with a real music studio. They'd get married. Maybe have kids someday. It was all planned out, all perfect. And then the letter came. Elijah stared at it for a full minute before he could process what it said. United States Army. Draft lottery. Report for duty. "This has to be a mistake," Diane said, reading over his shoulder. "They don't draft people anymore. We're not at war." But they were. Afghanistan. The war that everyone had forgotten about until it suddenly needed more soldiers. "I have to go," Elijah said quietly. No, you can appeal. You're an artist. There has to be some exemption." "There isn't." "Then we'll hire a lawyer. We'll fight it. With what money, Diane? We can barely pay rent." She was crying now. "I can't lose you. You won't. It's 2 years. I do my service. I come home, we pick up where we left off. 2 years. It'll go by fast." It was a lie, and they both knew it. The night before Elijah left for basic training, they stayed up until dawn, sitting at the piano in the Velvet Note. The owner had given them the keys, told them to take as long as they needed. "I want to write something," Diane said. "Something that's just ours. Not for anyone else. Just for us." So they wrote When the Night Fades, a song about time running out. About holding on to moments that can't last. About love that persists even when everything else falls apart. They didn't write it down, didn't record it. It was just theirs. A secret between two people who weren't ready to say goodbye. "When you come back," Diane said as the sun rose, "we'll record this one first. It'll be the first track on our album." "When I come back," Elijah promised. He meant it. He really did. But war doesn't care about promises. Elijah's unit was deployed to Afghanistan 8 months after he enlisted. He'd hoped to avoid combat, maybe get assigned to something administrative, but the army had other plans. He was put in a convoy security detail, dangerous work, the kind where you see your friends die. He wrote to Diane every chance he got. She wrote back. Her letters told him about her career taking off. A different label had signed her a bigger one. She was recording an album. His songs, the ones they'd written together, plus some new material other writers had given her. "It doesn't feel right without you," she wrote. "But I'm doing this for us. When you come home, we'll do it together properly." Elijah kept her letters in his pocket. Read them over and over. They were his lifeline, his reminder that there was a world beyond dust and blood and fear. The explosion happened on a Tuesday. Elijah's convoy was heading back to base when the IED detonated. He was in the third vehicle. The second vehicle, the one in front of him, took the direct hit. His best friend was in that vehicle, gone in an instant. The shockwave hit Elijah's truck like the fist of God. Metal twisted, glass shattered. The world turned into noise and pain and the smell of burning. Elijah doesn't remember much after that. Flashes. Someone pulling him from the wreckage. A helicopter. Shouting. A field hospital. He woke up 3 days later in a military hospital in Germany. Shrapnel wounds. Broken ribs. Concussion. He'd live, they told him. He was lucky. He didn't feel lucky. The physical wounds healed. The ones in his head didn't. They called it post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD, a clinical term for the way his brain had shattered just as surely as that truck. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't be in crowds without panicking. Loud noises sent him diving for cover. He had nightmares where he watched his friend die over and over. The army gave him medals, honorable discharge. Thank you for your service. But they couldn't give him back the person he used to be. Elijah came home different, broken. He tried to hide it from Diane at first, tried to pretend everything was fine. But you can't hide that kind of damage, not from someone who knows you. She tried to help. God, she tried. But her career was exploding. She was touring, doing interviews. Her album had gone platinum. His songs that she'd recorded were on the radio. She was becoming famous, and he was falling apart. The breaking point came one night when she was on stage in Los Angeles and he was supposed to be in the audience, but he'd had a panic attack in the parking garage. The sound of car horns had triggered him. He'd ended up curled in a corner, shaking, unable to move. Security found him. Called Diane. She left her own concert to come get him. That's when he knew he had to let her go. You deserve better than this, he told her. Don't say that. We'll get through it. We'll get you help. I am getting help. It's not working. Then we'll try something else. We'll, Diane. He took her hands, looked into her eyes. I love you. I love you more than I've ever loved anything. That's why I have to do this. Do what let you go. You're a star now. You're going to be one of the greats, and I'm broken. I can't be fixed. That's not true. It is, and you know it. You're just too kind to say it. They fought about it for hours. She refused to accept it. But Elijah had made up his mind. He left in the middle of the night. Didn't tell her where he was going. Didn't leave a note. He just disappeared. It was cruel. He knew it was cruel, but he couldn't watch her sacrifice her dreams to take care of him. Couldn't let her waste her gift on someone who couldn't be saved. He bounced around for a while, stayed with other veterans who understood, tried different jobs, none of which lasted. The PTSD got worse. The nightmares. The paranoia. The moments where he couldn't tell what was real and what was memory. He stopped playing music. His hands shook too much. The melodies in his head were drowned out by the sound of explosions that only he could hear. Eventually, he ended up on the streets. Easier than trying to maintain an apartment when you can't hold a job. Safer than being around people who didn't understand why you flinched at loud noises. Sometimes on bad nights, Elijah would find his way to a library or a store with TVs, and he'd watch Diane on screen. Award shows, talk shows, concerts, each time more successful than the last. He was happy for her. He was. Even if it meant living without her, he was happy she'd made it. He just never imagined he'd end up here. In the back of a ballroom, hiding in the shadows, watching the woman he loved from a distance, like a ghost haunting the life he could have had. The ballroom fills quickly after 5 p.m. Black cars pull up to the hotel entrance, disgorging passengers in formal wear. Women in gowns that cost more than Elijah earns in a year, if he earned anything. Men in tuxedos adjusting cufflinks, checking their phones. This is the cream of society here, to write checks, and network and feel virtuous. Elijah watches from his hiding spot in the equipment room. He should leave. He knows he should leave. But he can't. Not yet. The program begins at 6. A local news anchor serves as master of ceremonies, welcoming everyone to the annual Veterans Hope Gala. The cause is noble, he explains. There are over 30,000 homeless veterans in this country. Men and women who served with honor and now sleep in shelters or on the streets. Tonight's event will raise money for housing programs, mental health services, job training. Elijah almost laughs at the irony. He's one of those statistics. One of the 30,000. And here he is hiding in a closet while the people who claim to care about him sip champagne and congratulate themselves. But he's not here for them. He's here for Diane. The orchestra takes their positions. The lights dim. And then she walks on stage and Elijah's breath catches the same way it did 15 years ago. She's wearing silver tonight, a gown that catches the light and makes her look like something out of a dream. Her hair is up, showing the elegant line of her neck. She moves with confidence, comfortable in front of a crowd this size. But when she speaks, her voice is soft, intimate. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Diane says. "This cause is deeply personal to me. My father served in Vietnam. I grew up watching him struggle with wounds that no one could see. And I knew someone else once who gave everything for this country and got very little in return." Elijah closes his eyes. Is she talking about him? "After all these years, music has always been my refuge," Diane continues, "my way of processing pain and loss. Every song I sing carries memories of people I've loved, people who shaped me, people who are no longer here." She pauses and Elijah can see her composing herself. "Tonight I'm going to perform songs that mean something to me. Songs that were gifts from someone who saw the world in melodies and taught me to hear them too. This is for everyone who's lost someone, for everyone who carries memories like scars, and for everyone out there who's still fighting battles no one else can see." The orchestra begins. Diane starts with one of her biggest hits, a song Elijah wrote the melody for back when they were both unknown. Hearing it now, arranged for a full orchestra, sung by a voice that's been honed by years of professional training, is surreal. She moves through her set list. Each song is a memory. Fragments of Gold. The first one they wrote together, Morning Light, composed the week after they first kissed. Endless Road, written when he got his deployment notice. With each song, Elijah dies a little more inside. Because these are his children, his creations, and he gave them away. Gave them to her because she could do something with them that he never could. The crowd loves her. Between songs she tells stories. Some true, some carefully edited for public consumption. She talks about struggling in dive bars, about the people who believed in her when she had nothing, about the power of music to heal. She never mentions his name. But Elijah knows. Every story she tells, he was there. He was the accompanist in the dive bar, the one who believed in her, the one who wrote the melodies that healed her. Halfway through the performance, there's an intermission. Guests mingle, head to the bar. Diane disappears backstage. Elijah knows he should use this time to leave, to slip out before he gets caught. But his legs won't move. He's frozen, trapped between the past and present, between who he was and who he's become. That's when security finds him. "Hey, what are you doing up here?" Elijah turns to find a young security guard, probably mid-20s, looking at him with suspicion and disgust. "I was just leaving," Elijah says quietly. "You're not supposed to be here. This is a private event." "I know. I'm sorry. How'd you even get in?" "You're..." The guard looks him up and down, sees the dirty clothes, the unwashed hair, the smell that Elijah has gotten used to, but others haven't. You're homeless, it's not a question. Yes, Elijah admits. Did you steal anything? No. I wouldn't. I should call the police. Please don't. Elijah raises his hands, non-threatening. I'll leave. Right now. I'm sorry. But the commotion has drawn attention. Other security guards. Some guests who wandered upstairs to check out the balcony view. They form a loose circle around Elijah, trapping him. This is what happens when you don't secure all the entrances, one guard mutters. Probably looking for wallets to steal, a guest adds. Elijah doesn't defend himself. What's the point? But then a voice cuts through the crowd. A voice with authority. What's going on here? The circle parts, and an older man steps forward. He's in his 70s, military bearing still evident in his posture. Medals on his tuxedo indicate high rank, general something or other. The security guard explains. Found this homeless man hiding upstairs, sir. We're escorting him out. The general looks at Elijah. Really looks. His eyes go to the army jacket, to the faded tattoo. What unit, the general asks. 10th Mountain Division, sir. Elijah answers automatically, standing straighter. Old habits. Afghanistan, yes, sir. When 2011 to 2012, sir. The general nods slowly. Then he turns to the security guard. Let him go. Sir, I said let him go. This event is for veterans. He's a veteran. He has more right to be here than most of these people. The general gestures at the crowd. But he's a soldier who served his country. Now back off. The security guards hesitate, then step back. The general turns to Elijah. You served with honor. I tried to, sir. Then you deserve to be here. Come on. He gestures for Elijah to follow. They walk down to the main ballroom level. Guests stare, whisper. The contrast between the general in his pristine tuxedo and Elijah in his ragged clothes is stark. What's your name, son? The general asks. Elijah Washington, sir. I'm General Richard Barrett, retired. I run this event every year. They've reached the ballroom. You served, you sacrificed, you deserve to witness what we're doing in your name. Sit anywhere in the back. Anyone gives you trouble, you tell them to talk to me. I appreciate it, sir, but I should go. Why, ashamed? I don't belong here. The hell you don't. The general's voice is firm, but not unkind. You belong here more than half these people who came to feel good about themselves. Sit. Watch. Let them see what a real veteran looks like. So Elijah sits. In the very last row in the shadows, but he sits. Intermission ends. Diane returns to the stage. The second half of her performance begins. And this is when everything changes. Diane is in the middle of a ballad when she pauses, overcome with emotion. It's a song about loss, about absence, and her voice cracks just slightly. She apologizes, laughs it off. But Elijah can see it's real. Whatever she's feeling isn't performative. It's genuine. I'm sorry, she says to the crowd. This one always gets me. It's about someone I lost. Someone who meant everything to me. She composes herself, starts again. But Elijah can't stay in his seat. The emotion in her voice, the pain that's still there after all these years, it's too much. He stands moving without thinking, drawn toward the source of the music like he's been drawn to her since the first day they met. He doesn't even realize where he's going until he finds himself in a side corridor. There's a room here, a VIP lounge for special guests. And in that lounge, untouched, is a grand piano. His hands find the keys before his mind can stop them. He hasn't played in years. His fingers are stiff, clumsy. But muscle memory is a powerful thing. The melody comes back. When the Night Fades, the song they wrote together, the song nobody else knows. He plays softly at first, just for himself, but there's a microphone somewhere in this room connected to the main sound system. The hotel uses this lounge for overflow guests during big events, and Elijah's piano, his melody, starts broadcasting through the ballroom speakers. Diane is mid-verse when she hears it. At first she thinks it's a mistake, some technical error, someone backstage testing equipment, but then she recognizes the melody. Her voice stops. The word dies on her lips. The orchestra, confused, continues for a few more bars before the conductor cuts them off. 500 people sit in confused silence as a piano melody fills the ballroom. A melody none of them have heard before. A melody that's achingly beautiful and somehow sad and hopeful at the same time. Diane's hands start to shake. The microphone nearly slips from her grip. She knows this song. She knows every note, every pause, every subtle variation. She knows it because she helped write it. She knows it because she sang it once 15 years ago in a dive bar at dawn with a man who was leaving for war. When the Night Fades. Her song. Their song. The song that was never recorded, never performed publicly, never shared with anyone else. The song that only 2 people in the world know. And one of those people is supposed to be dead. Elijah, she whispers. The microphone picks it up. The entire ballroom hears her say his name. Diane doesn't think. She runs. Off the stage, through the confused crowd following the sound of the piano. Security tries to stop her, but General Barrett waves them off. He doesn't know what's happening, but he recognizes the look on her face. That's not performance. That's real. Diane bursts into the VIP lounge. And there he is, sitting at the grand piano, head-bowed fingers moving across the keys with a gentleness that contradicts his appearance. His clothes are filthy, his hair is gray, he's aged 20 years in 15. But his hands. She'd recognize those hands anywhere, the way his left pinky extends slightly when he plays certain chords, the way his right hand moves in that peculiar pattern when he transitions between keys. Elijah. He stops playing, doesn't turn around. Elijah, look at me. Slowly, like a man expecting to be struck, he turns. Their eyes meet. 15 years collapse in an instant. 15 years of separation, of pain, of believing he was gone forever. All of it compressed into this single moment of recognition. Diane's legs give out. She doesn't faint, but she sinks to the floor, her expensive gown pooling around her. They told me you were dead, she whispers. The army. They said you were MIA, presumed dead. I should have been, Elijah says quietly. Why didn't you come back? Why didn't you find me? I couldn't. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Diane is crying now, mascara running down her face, her carefully constructed composure completely shattered. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Thinking you were gone, I waited. I waited for 2 years, and then they sent me the letter. Missing in action, presumed killed. They gave me your dog tags. I wore them every day for 3 years. Elijah closes his eyes. I'm sorry. Sorry. You're sorry. She stands, anger replacing shock. I mourned you, I grieved, I built an entire career on songs about loss and absence, and all this time you were alive. You were here, in the same city. I didn't know you were in the city. I didn't know anything. I've been lost. She looks at him, really looks, sees the clothes, sees the age in his face, sees the tremor in his hands that wasn't there before. What happened to you? So he tells her, not everything. Not the worst of it, but enough. Afghanistan, the explosion, the PTSD, trying to come home and finding that home didn't exist anymore. The way his mind broke, the way he couldn't function, the way he left because he couldn't bear to drag her down with him. I saw you on TV, he says, saw you winning awards, performing at sold-out shows. You became everything we dreamed you'd be. I became half of what we dreamed Diane corrects. The other half was supposed to be you. I would have held you back. That wasn't your choice to make. They stare at each other. The anger and the pain and the love all mixed together in a way that's impossible to untangle. Why are you here? Diane finally asks. Tonight. Of all nights. I heard you rehearsing this morning. I was in the park, and I heard your voice, and I needed to see you. Just once. I was going to leave, I swear. But then I heard you talking about someone you lost, and you. What? The someone I lost. In my speech. I was talking about you. Diane wipes her eyes. I talk about you constantly. Everyone thinks it's my father or some abstract, lost love. But it's always been you. Every song I sing, every word I write, it's all for you. Elijah stands slowly from the piano bench. They're only a few feet apart now. You kept our song, he says softly. Of course I kept it. I've kept everything. Every melody you wrote. Every scrap of paper with your handwriting. Every memory. I kept it all because letting go would mean admitting you were really gone. I am gone. The person I was, he died in that desert. Bullshit. Diane's voice is fierce. You're standing right here. You just played our song. You think I don't know your touch on those keys? You think 15 years could make me forget what it sounds like when you play? She closes the distance between them, reaches up and puts her hands on his face, forcing him to look at her. You're broken. Fine. I don't care. You think I'm not broken too? You think losing you didn't break me into pieces? You think I put myself back together perfectly? I'm held together with duct tape and denial. Elijah, we're both a mess. But we're both here. We're both alive. And I'm not losing you twice. Diane, no. You don't get to argue. You don't get to tell me I deserve better or that you're doing this for me. You already tried that. You already left. It didn't work. I'm still here. You're still here. And I'm not letting you disappear again. Elijah is crying now too, silent tears running down his weathered face. I don't know how to be who I was, he admits. Then be who you are. Be this version. The broken version. The homeless veteran version. I don't care. I just need you to be here. I'm scared. Me too. I'm terrified. But I'm more scared of spending another 15 years without you than I am of whatever comes next. She pulls him into a hug. He resists at first, aware of how he smells, how he looks. But she doesn't let go. She holds him the way she held him 15 years ago when he was leaving for war, like if she just holds tight enough, she can keep him safe. And Elijah, who hasn't been touched with kindness in longer than he can remember, who hasn't been held by someone who loves him in years, finally breaks. He wraps his arms around her and sobs, deep, wrenching sobs that come from somewhere primal. They stand there for a long time, long enough that someone from the event staff pokes their head in, sees them, and quietly closes the door. Long enough that the crowd in the ballroom starts to get restless. Long enough that it doesn't matter anymore what came before, only what comes next. Finally, Diane pulls back, looks up at him. Can you play? She asks. What can you still play? I know your hands shake, I saw. But can you play? I think so. I just did. Then play with me, out there, on stage, in front of everyone. Diane, I can't. Look at me. You're the man I love. The man who taught me what music could be. The man who wrote half the songs that made me famous. And everyone out there needs to know it. They need to know about you. They'll think you're crazy. Let them. She takes his hand. I've spent 15 years being careful, being professional, being the perfect image of a successful artist. I'm done. I'm done pretending. I'm done singing songs about loss and absence when the person I lost is standing right here. What are you saying? I'm saying come with me? Play our song. Let them hear what we created together. Let me stop pretending you're a memory. Elijah looks at her, at this woman who could have anyone in the world and is choosing him. Choosing this version of him. The broken, homeless, traumatized version. Okay, he whispers. Okay, I'll play. Diane's smile could light up a city. She takes his hand, laces her fingers through his, and leads him out of the VIP lounge, through the corridors, toward the ballroom, toward 500 people who have no idea what they're about to witness. The ballroom has descended into confused chatter by the time Diane returns. She's been gone for 20 minutes. The orchestra sits ready. The conductor keeps looking backstage for direction. Guests are starting to wonder if something's wrong. Then Diane walks back on stage. But she's not alone. The room goes silent. Not the polite, anticipatory silence of an audience waiting for a performance. The shocked, confused silence of people trying to process what they're seeing. Diane Porter, 3-time Grammy winner, platinum-selling artist, is walking hand in hand with a homeless man. The whispers start immediately. Who is that? Is this part of the show? Someone should call security. General Barrett, sitting in the front row, stands up. Not to object, to see better. Diane walks to the microphone. Elijah stays a few steps behind, acutely aware of every eye in the room, judging him, finding him wanting. I apologize for the delay, Diane says. Her voice is steady, but there's an edge to it. A rawness that wasn't there before. Something unexpected happened tonight. Something I need to share with you. She turns, gestures for Elijah to join her at the front of the stage. He hesitates. She waits. Finally, he walks forward, standing beside her in his ragged clothes, while she gleams in silver. This is Elijah Washington, Diane says. He's a veteran, 10th Mountain Division. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He was wounded in action, and for the past 15 years, I thought he was dead. The room erupts in murmurs, people looking at each other, trying to understand. Elijah is also a musician, Diane continues, a composer, a pianist, and every song I've sung tonight, every melody that's made me famous, started with him. He wrote them. We wrote them together. Before the war. Before everything fell apart. Elijah closes his eyes. She's telling the truth, but it feels like exposure. Like being flayed open in front of an audience. The army told me he was missing in action, Diane says. Presumed killed. I mourned him. Built a career on that loss. On songs about absence and memory, and tonight, by some miracle I don't understand, he's here. He's alive. And I'm not going to waste another second pretending he's gone. She turns to Elijah, speaks directly to him, though the microphone picks up every word. I know you're scared. I know you think you don't belong up here. But you do. This is where you've always belonged. Next to me. Making music. So I'm asking you in front of all these people, will you play with me? Will you play our song? The one we never shared with anyone? Elijah's hands are shaking. His whole body is shaking. I don't know if I can, he admits. Yes, you can. I heard you in the lounge. You played it perfectly. Muscle memory doesn't forget, even when everything else does. Diane, please, I need this. We need this. He looks out at the audience, 500 faces staring back, most confused, some compassionate, some disgusted that someone like him is on stage next to someone like her. But then he sees General Barrett. The old soldier is smiling, nodding, encouraging. And Elijah thinks about all the years he's spent hiding, thinking he wasn't worth anything, thinking the best thing he could do was disappear. Maybe it's time to stop hiding. Okay, he says quietly. Diane's face transforms. She gestures to the grand piano. The orchestra's pianist stands, giving up his seat without complaint. Elijah walks to the piano, sits, places his hands on the keys. They're trembling. Everyone can see it. He takes a breath, closes his eyes, and finds the first note of When the Night Fades. The sound that comes out is imperfect. His timing is a little off. His hands don't move with the confidence they used to. But the melody is there. The heart of the song is there. And when Diane starts to sing, everything else falls away. Her voice transforms his imperfect playing into something transcendent. They find their rhythm, the same rhythm they had 15 years ago. Piano and voice interweaving, supporting each other, creating something that's more than the sum of its parts. The lyrics are about time running out, about holding on to moments that slip away, about love that persists even when everything else crumbles. Diane sings with her eyes closed, tears streaming down her face. Elijah plays with his eyes open, watching her, remembering every moment that led them to this stage. The ballroom is absolutely silent. Not a cough, not a whisper. 500 people barely breathing because they recognize they're witnessing something rare, something real. This isn't a performance. This is a reunion. This is two broken people finding each other again through the only language that ever made sense to them. Elijah's hands shake through the entire song, but he doesn't stop. He makes mistakes, hits wrong notes occasionally, but he keeps playing. And Diane's voice covers the imperfections, smooths them over, makes them part of the beauty instead of flaws. The bridge of the song is Elijah's favorite part. It's where the melody shifts from minor to major, from sadness to hope. It's where Diane's voice soars. It's where they wrote the lyric, "When the night fades, we remain." And as they play that section, Elijah looks at Diane, and she looks back at him, and for the first time in 15 years, he doesn't feel lost. He feels found. The song ends softly. The last note fades into silence. For 3 full seconds, nobody moves. Then General Barrett stands, starts clapping. One by one, the rest of the audience joins him. It starts as polite applause, but builds, people rising to their feet, clapping harder, some crying. The standing ovation lasts for 5 full minutes. Diane crosses the stage, wraps her arms around Elijah while he's still sitting at the piano, holds him while an audience of strangers applauds not just the performance, but the story, the reunion. The proof that some things survive even when everything else burns. Elijah buries his face in her shoulder and lets himself believe for the first time in years that maybe he's allowed to hope. Maybe he's allowed to think that the story isn't over, that there are chapters left to write. "I love you, Diane," whispers in his ear, quiet enough that the microphone doesn't catch it. "I never stopped. Not for 1 second." "I love you too," Elijah whispers back. "I'm sorry it took me so long to come home. You're home now. That's all that matters. They stay like that, holding each other on stage while the applause continues, while photographers snap pictures that will be in every newspaper tomorrow, while social media starts exploding with videos of the performance, while the world discovers the story of Diane Porter and the homeless veteran who wrote her songs. But none of that matters to them. Not right now. Right now, they're just two people who found each other again. Two people who love each other despite everything that tried to keep them apart. And that's enough. More than enough. That's everything. 3 months after the Veterans Hope Gala, Diane Porter's life looks very different. She's still famous. Still has 3 Grammys. Still fills concert halls. But now when she performs, there's a pianist on stage with her. A man with gray hair and careful hands who plays her accompaniment. Elijah Washington is no longer homeless. Diane made sure of that. The morning after the gala, she moved him into her house. Not as a guest, as family. She got him into therapy. Real therapy with a doctor who specializes in PTSD. She stayed with him through the nightmares, through the panic attacks, through the days when he couldn't get out of bed. "I'm not going anywhere," she told him during the worst moments. "You left once. I'm not giving you the chance to do it again. It's been hard. Healing always is. But Elijah is better, not cured. You don't cure something like PTSD, but better. Functioning. Playing music again. They write together. Every morning before Diane has to deal with the business of being a celebrity, they sit at the piano and compose. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's terrible, but it's theirs. The album they're working on is called 15 Years. Every song is about their story, their separation, their reunion, their journey from who they were to who they are now. The title track, When the Night Fades, is the centerpiece. The song they wrote at dawn 15 years ago, now recorded properly professionally. They've released it as a single. It's climbing the charts. People can't get enough of the story behind it. Critics call it hauntingly beautiful. Fans call it the most romantic thing they've ever heard. But for Diane and Elijah, it's just theirs. A piece of their history turned into something the world can share. Tonight is another gala. Different venue, same cause. Veterans Hope has expanded massively after the publicity from Diane's revelation. Donations flooded in. They've housed over 200 homeless veterans in the past 3 months, gotten them medical care, job training, second chances. General Barrett runs the organization now with Diane and Elijah as the public faces. They do interviews, share their story, talk about PTSD and the struggles veterans face when they come home. Elijah never thought he'd be comfortable talking about his experiences, but he's found that sharing helps. Other veterans reach out to him, tell him their stories, thank him for making them feel less alone. This second gala is different from the first. For one thing, Elijah arrives through the front door, not the kitchen. He's in a tuxedo standing next to Diane, who's in a deep blue gown. They walk in together hand in hand, and the crowd applauds. Not because she's famous, because they're a symbol. Proof that broken things can be repaired, that lost people can be found. The performance tonight is special. They've arranged When the Night Fades for full orchestra. It's the premiere. The first time they've performed it with this kind of production. When they take the stage, Elijah isn't nervous. Not like last time. He's played this song 100 times now. Played it in therapy sessions and recording studios, and in their living room at 3 a.m. when neither of them could sleep. The orchestra swells. Diane sings, Elijah plays, and this time when the audience gives them a standing ovation, he can enjoy it, can appreciate what they've created, can feel proud instead of ashamed. After the performance, they mingle with guests. Elijah still isn't comfortable in crowds, probably never will be, but he manages. Diane stays close, a constant anchor. General Barrett pulls them aside at one point. "You two have done something remarkable," he says. "Not just with the music, with everything. You've given hope to people who didn't think they had any left." "We're just telling our story," Diane says. "That's all anyone can do. But your story matters. It matters to every veteran out there who thinks they're too broken to fix. Every family member wondering if their loved one will ever come home. You're proof that home isn't a place. It's a person." Elijah shakes the general's hand. "Thank you, sir. For that night. For standing up for me. You stood up for your country. Least I could do was return the favor." The gala continues late into the night. Music and speeches and fundraising. But eventually, it winds down. Guests leave. The venue starts to empty. Diane and Elijah are the last to go. They stand in the now empty ballroom, much like they stood in the Velvet Note 15 years ago, not wanting the night to end. "You tired?" Diane asks. "Exhausted," Elijah admits. "But the good kind. Want to go home?" The word still feels foreign to Elijah sometimes, but he's learning to accept it. "Yeah," he says. "Let's go home." They walk out together into the cool night air. Their car is waiting, but they take a moment, just standing on the sidewalk looking at the stars. "You know what I think about sometimes," Diane says quietly. "What if you hadn't come to the gala that night? If you'd stayed away? We might have gone our whole lives never finding each other again. I think about that too. Scares me, how close we came to missing each other." Elijah pulls her closer. "But we didn't. Against all odds, against every reason we shouldn't have, we found each other. You believe in fate. Now, I believe in music. I believe it's a language that transcends everything else. And I believe that some melodies are so strong they pull people together even when the whole world is trying to keep them apart." Diane smiles. "That's very poetic." "I'm a songwriter. It's my job." They get in the car, drive through the quiet city streets. Back to the house, they share the life they're building together. It's not perfect. Elijah still has bad days. Days when the nightmares are too strong. Days when he can't play. Days when he can barely function. But Diane is there for those days. Just like he's there for her when the pressure of fame gets too heavy. When the expectations become overwhelming. When she needs someone who knows her not as Diane Porter, the superstar, but as Diane, the girl who used to sing in dive bars. They're building something new, not trying to recreate what they had before because that's impossible. The people they were 15 years ago don't exist anymore. But the people they are now, they're pretty good too. Broken, yes. Scarred, absolutely. But together. And that's what matters. 6 months after the second gala, Diane and Elijah sit in a recording studio. It's 3 a.m. They do their best work in the quiet hours when the rest of the world is asleep. They're finishing the last track for 15 years. It's been a labor of love, this album. Every song written together, every melody crafted from their shared experiences. The track they're working on is called Coming Home. It's about the journey from lost to found, from broken to healing, from alone to together. Elijah plays a melody. Diane hums along, finding harmonies. They adjust, refine, perfect. This is their process. The same process they used 15 years ago, now refined by experience and pain and growth. What if we add strings here? Diane suggests. Could work. Let's try it tomorrow. You mean today? It's already tomorrow. Elijah smiles. Fair point. They sit in comfortable silence for a moment. the kind of silence that only exists between people who know each other completely. "Can I tell you something?" Diane says. "Always. I'm happy. Like really happy. For the first time in 15 years, I'm not performing happiness. I'm not pretending. I just am." Elijah takes her hand. "Me too. I didn't think I'd ever feel this way again. Content. At peace. Home. You know what the best part is? What the music. We're making music again. Together. That was all I ever wanted. Not the fame or the money or the awards. Just this. You and me creating something beautiful. We're creating a lot of beautiful things," Elijah says. "Music, a life, a future." Diane leans her head on his shoulder. "Promise me something. Anything. Don't disappear again. Whatever happens, whatever gets hard, we face it together. No more running. I promise. I'm done running. This is where I belong." They sit there for a while longer, neither wanting to leave the studio. This space has become sacred to them, a place where the outside world doesn't exist, where it's just music and possibility. Eventually, though, they have to go. The sun is starting to rise. They have a meeting with their producer in a few hours. The album needs to be finalized. There's always something. But as they pack up their things and prepare to leave, Elijah stops at the piano, plays a few notes of "When the Night Fades." Diane joins him, singing softly. "When the night fades, we remain. Through the silence, through the pain. Time may steal our yesterday, but love will find a way." The lyric they wrote together 15 years apart, now reunited. A promise made when they were young and naive, a promise that somehow miraculously came true. They finish the song. The last notes hang in the air of the studio, fading slowly into silence. And in that silence, Elijah realizes something. He spent years thinking he was lost, thinking the explosion in Afghanistan had destroyed everything he was and could ever be, thinking the best thing he could do was disappear. But he wasn't lost. He was just taking the long way home. Music brought them together the first time. Music kept them connected even when they were apart. And music brought them back together when all seemed lost. Some melodies never fade. They just wait, patient and persistent, for the right moment to be heard again. Some loves never die. They just transform, reshape, adapt to whatever form they need to survive. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, and you're willing to fight for it, and you're brave enough to believe in impossible things, you get a second chance. Not to recreate what you had before, but to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. Elijah and Diane walk out of the studio hand in hand into the early morning light. They have an album to finish, a life to live, a future to build. The past 15 years were about survival, about enduring, about finding ways to keep going when everything said to give up. But the next 15 years, those are about living, about creating, about loving without fear. The night has faded, morning has come, and they remain together. Finally, home.